Lindsay, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
Yes, I was thinking we've known each other for a long time.
We have, and I don't remember exactly how many years it's
I
been,
know.
but we have.
It's been a long time. And by no coincidence or coincidence, if however you want to say it, we connected in the wealth management world, right? When back when you think you were at TD. So that
Yeah.
might be the first, yeah. And here we are today. So, over that time, there's been a lot of changes and things happening. And why don't you just tell us a little bit more about your background? Because I, it's very impressive. I mean, you're a
Thank you.
speaker, going to conferences, coaching advisors. Now you started your own initiative. I mean, you have seen the C-suite of so many firms of so many sizes and have really gotten into, I mean, just the behind the scenes conversation. So, anyways, I don't want to steal your thunder, but share a little bit more about your journey in this world and what's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, well, thank you. Again, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. So I started in financial services about 20 years ago, if you can believe that, right out of college. I was actually in college a bank teller. And then after I got out of college, staying in the financial world, I moved over into the insurance side of the business and I was a financial representative for a little while.
Mhm.
But what happened for me was really quickly, I realized that I wasn't meant to be a financial advisor. I was
Mhm.
meant to be a business consultant and coach for
Mhm.
financial advisors. And so I'm really grateful that that light bulb went off so quickly and I was able to tap into some of my true passions and gifts. I went to school for entrepreneurship and I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So, that natural transition of helping advisors to be better entrepreneurs came so naturally to me.
Mhm.
And so I started a program at Northwestern Mutual early on in my career and then went over to LPL and worked with some of the top firms that associated with LPL, helping their C-suite to really maximize their engagement with their advisors and with their clients. And then went over to TD Ameritrade, which is, of course, where
Yeah.
we met. And then I spent a little bit of time in a small consulting firm. And then most recently, I was in the asset management space.
Mhm.
So, still as a coaching consultant, but working on the other side of the fence. So, I feel as though I've seen it from all different angles and have been able to work with advisors of all different shapes and sizes and having different focuses on niches and whatnot. And so, yeah, I've really bounced around, but have always stayed true to that coach and consultant role.
So tell us about where you are today because you've seen it's a gift, right? To be able to see that kind of lens at so many different stages of business growth and also to be able to see that across industry. I mean, I'm sure you're hearing conversations over here that are impacting other conversations that you're having over there. And I'm sure that helped with just also hearing trends, right? But trends that might not even be public that you just have a pulse on. So tell us about where you are today and kind of what's led you to now you starting your own business.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think that some of the reason that I started my own business was that things haven't been changing as much as I would hope that they would have over the last 20 years.
Mhm.
There's a saying that we have said, as coaches and consultants, you kind of hear sometimes like the stuff is the stuff. We've
Uh-huh.
been talking about the same stuff for a really long time. I mean, we've been talking about the wealth transfer for what seems like the entire 20 years that I've been in business. So some of this is just a frustration around not seeing enough change and seeing the financial services industry falling a little bit behind in terms of the trends that are taking place in other areas, right? You've got your clients that are experiencing other businesses and interacting with other businesses outside of the industry that are shaping the way that they want to interact with you.
Mhm.
And so things like social media and curating experiences, that's having an impact on the way that clients and investors want to be working with their advisors. So part of why I started my own business was to bring a little bit different perspective and start to blend
Mhm,
specifically this idea of integrating health and wealth together.
mhm,
One of the things that I did well at my last firm was start to bring about more opportunities to extend to end clients topics around health and wellness
mhm.
and thinking about their mental well-being and their physical well-being and their emotional and spiritual well-being and how that impacts the life that they live.
Now,
And so,
just to
yeah,
clarify, now when you're talking about the well-being, are you talking about advisors specifically, their clients, both?
their clients, both really, you know, it affects all of us.
Hmm.
Our mental well-being, our physical well-being, everybody as a human, we all need to be paying attention to it more than I think we do sometimes.
Hmm.
So it's not just working with the advisor and their team to make sure that they're living their healthiest and therefore wealthiest life,
Hmm.
but really extending those opportunities to advisors and clients to
Hmm.
make sure that they're being taken care of beyond the financial,
Hmm.
beyond making sure that their portfolios are sound and that their plans are going to help them achieve what they want to in life, but to make sure that they along the way are doing everything that they can to be as fulfilled as possible.
So tell us a little bit more about how you do that. Is it that one-on-one coaching? How are you tell us more about how you're kind of pulling that out and helping that advisor to be able to be their best self when they're showing up. If I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But I'm assuming also so that they can support their clients. But what does that process look like? And um, I'm sure it's something that doesn't come overnight either. So
Yeah, it definitely doesn't happen overnight, that's for
yeah.
sure. It's a journey.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about being human first
Hmm.
and being holistic.
Hmm.
And so holistic is one of those terms that you hear a lot in financial services,
Sure
quite
do.
frankly,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Holistic financial planning,
Yes.
comprehensive financial
Comprehensive.
planning.
All these words. I know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
does that actually mean? What does
Right.
that mean? And I think that it's been thrown around inappropriately, and I think it's been overused, misused. So when we think about how we help teams to add this more holistic and human first element to their value offering, what we do is we work in a couple of different ways. One, we work with a team.
Hmm.
So any team who's saying, yeah, we're really interested in bringing more human first and truly human centered offerings to our clients beyond the financial. What are we doing for the team? Are we providing tools and resources to help them think about, maximizing their energy throughout the course of the day? Or
Hmm.
do we have a team that's truly burnt out and,
Hmm.
burning the candle at both ends?
Hmm.
So the first thing that we do is we take a look at the team and the resources that they have access to so that they can live that healthy life.
Right.
And then second, we look at who the firm is trying to go after, so who their ideal client is. I'm a huge fan of creating niche markets, however you want to go about saying it,
Yes. Yes.
whatever your favorite flavor is, right?
Yes.
There's riches in the niches, but I'm a huge
I love
fan
it.
of having a niche market, right? And being able to dive into that idea of, what is your client value? What do
Mhm.
they believe? Where are they spending their time? What do they get motivated by? What are their core frustrations? What are they investing in terms of their own self-development?
Mhm.
So understanding who the client is of the firm,
Mhm.
and then helping the advisor to add in some of these more ancillary services like coaching
Mhm.
to attract and then also retain their best clients. So
Mm.
we really help them with adding coaching, being an outsourced solution for life coaching. We do really four different areas. We do life coaching, we do career coaching, we
Mhm.
do business coaching, and we do retirement coaching.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Okay.
if you're thinking about this,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
an advisor does a great job of making sure that you are prepared for retirement
Mhm.
financially.
Mhm.
one of the things that my clients have come to me and said is, we've got a client who's about to retire.
Yeah.
They've told us that they feel comfortable and ready to retire because we've
Yep.
done such a great job,
Hmm.
but they don't know what to do next. Like, where are
Yeah.
they going to spend their time?
Yeah.
So this gives them the ability to outsource that to us. You can, of course, bring that in-house, right? There's so many wonderful ways that you can do that. There's the life planning designation from
Right.
Tinder.
Right.
You can become a coach, you can become a financial therapist. But if
Hmm.
you don't want to do that and you want to outsource it to somebody else, that's what we do. So we
Got it.
take that responsibility on and we provide coaching and collateral kind of content, marketing, resources,
Yeah.
videos,
Yep.
stuff that you can send out. And then we also have a little bit of a community element to it as well, where people start sharing stories about what they're going through so everybody can learn from everybody else.
So you must have been talking with advisors and just firms of various sizes, started to sort of feel this need that was going on. And then you're so well suited based off, with your coaching experience and knowing this industry so well to then now step into a role to really support on both ends, right? It's like the advisor end as well as the client end, so the value add there. Tell us more about just how does an advisor, right, you're talking, it's a relationship business, right? So
Mhm.
there's definitely a component to that, and it's about building trust. And then there's the actual deliverable, the service that's being created, and the plan and the support, etc. So tell us more about, what are those triggers, right? Like, how do you get clients to open up and maybe kind of uncover some of those perhaps problem spots, if it is a so-called problem spot in a, limited window.
Mhm. Well, there's a couple of different ways. So the first way is, quite honestly, most of the clients, when they're having conversations with their advisor, there is kind of a key trigger. They'll say something like, I just actually had this conversation this morning with one of my clients. He said, I was on the phone with one of our clients. She talked about how her career is blowing up in a really great way. She's
Mhm.
got offers coming in from multiple directions, and
Mhm.
she doesn't know how to make the decision
Yep.
around which direction to go. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's a perfect example of when we can come in and we can do coaching.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the conversations start with the advisor just sitting down and doing a review with their client, or even in prospect meetings. I had another client where he said, I was in a prospect meeting. We sat down, we started talking about these life planning, life coaching solutions that you provide to our team.
Mhm.
And the prospect's eyes just lit up. And
Mhm.
he's like, oh my gosh, I was thinking about hiring a coach. This is so incredible that you have this as part of your offer. That makes me really think that you've got a more comprehensive
Kind of end
approach
to
to what it
end.
is that you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of those triggers are just, they're kind of obvious when they happen.
Yeah.
But to get a client to open up,
Uh-huh.
they've got to want to, and they've got to be ready for it. It's not one of those things where you push it on them in any way, shape, or form. And you also have to be careful, which is why my clients, all of the advisors that we're working with, love the outsourced solution, because there is that fine line between coaching and therapy,
Yeah, that's fair.
and
Yes. Yeah.
knowing the difference, right?
Right.
And knowing if there's any kind of trauma
Mhm.
that needs to be addressed. I mean, one of the things we are seeing is more of that financial therapy space pop up in our
Yes.
industry. There are wonderful people that are out there that can help you in that vein, if that's the direction that you want to go.
Right.
But we make sure that we stay on that true line of coaching. So the way that I like to think about it is, coaching is not to necessarily fix a problem.
Hmm.
It's more so when your life is going really, really well and you want to elevate it even higher.
Mm.
And so it's pretty easy to get people to want to open up and talk about the things that are currently holding them back. Usually it's as simple as a thought, right?
Yeah.
We have over 60,000 thoughts every single day.
Mm.
And 70 to 80% of those tend to be negative. So
Mm.
even if things are going really, really well, when we're interpreting the things that are happening around us, what we're making it mean then causes us to feel a certain way, whether
Right.
it's overwhelm or fear or excitement or motivation, whatever it is. And so what we dive into is, how do you manage your mind more effectively to continue to get the results that you desire in life? Or
Mm-hmm.
to take a new direction that maybe you hadn't taken before. So it's not necessarily to treat something that's broken. It's more of how do you enhance what's already working really well.
Very good. So when you're working with these advisors, are you kind of taking it case by case where they may come into you with a client situation? How do we sort of handle this? Or maybe are you helping to coach them on the questions to ask or sort of the next path? How does that kind of work?
Kind of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's what we have is we've got an individual solution.
Mhm.
So if there are one-on-one conversations that need to happen, we do one-on-one coaching. And so I'll be meeting with the advisor team multiple times throughout the course of the month, and we'll talk at a very high level about, situations. And then if they won't obviously give me any client information that's private in that exchange, but what they'll do at the end of that conversation, after we've talked about it and decided, is this maybe a good fit for coaching? Then
Mhm.
they'll make the introduction to their clients, and then we go off and we start doing what we're doing.
Okay.
The other way that this works is more in a group setting. So we have tons of resources. We've got group coaching office hours that happen multiple times throughout the course of the month,
Mhm.
where your clients can just come to those sessions and talk openly within the group. What
Yeah.
people have found is that listening to other people and what they're going through makes them
Right.
realize that, I had a similar situation and I'm
Right.
going to benefit from just watching the coaching that's going on.
Right.
But we also have videos and workbooks. And
Mhm.
so all of that kind of additional collateral for people to passively absorb in their own time and kind of listen to it almost like a private podcast. That's the way I
Mhm.
kind of think of our community. Is it's a private podcast where
Yeah.
the clients get to engage in conversation with us to guide us exactly where they want to go.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it can be very personalized, or it can be more on this scalable group side so
Mhm.
that you can get broader exposure to the work that we're doing.
Got it. Now that you're on this side of the fence, right, and kind of deeper into the consulting piece of it, do you feel this loudness for the need? What is it? How is it? Because it's a little different from not totally different, right? There's similarity, but what is kind of your takeaway? Are you starting to see trends, and working with your clients? Are you starting to see needs? Are you feeling that people just need a place to be able to talk about this?
Yeah, definitely. As I said at the beginning, we've been talking about the wealth transfer for so long.
Yeah.
We know that, was it $16 billion is going to exchange hands in the next decade.
Mhm.
And we also have all of those wonderful resources that are provided from the Fidelity Value Stack study.
Mhm.
And it's just overwhelmingly, we're finding that your clients, advisors' clients, are really wanting to have that higher level fulfillment conversation.
Mhm.
And so, in terms of the noise across the industry, I'm seeing it over and over again, whether it's advisors wanting to outsource the solution so that they can tap into something like what we've built, or
Right.
they're wanting to build it internally themselves. So some of my clients are coming to me for consulting
Mhm.
because they want to build it themselves
Mhm.
in-house, but they
Mhm.
don't necessarily know how to do that. So we're also working with a number of teams to go through that entire process of, let's look at your niche market. Let's get
Mhm.
really clear about who that avatar is, and
Mhm.
then let's start to build out
Yeah.
additional ancillary services that are going to meet their needs at that level of fulfillment.
Yes, that
So
makes sense.
yeah, it's a huge thing that's taking place, a shift that I started to really see it almost 10 years ago at this point in time. But
Mhm.
now that noise is even louder. And especially, like I said, with that Fidelity Value Stack research. I mean, Samantha Allen has been posting a lot about it and saying, the millennials and the next gen, Gen Y, Gen Z, they're really looking for a life coach with a side of financial planning and asset management.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah. So, we always hear, right, that advisors in particular, right, that they're going to have clients come to them at life-changing events, right? It's some baby, getting married, you go on, all these sort of retirement, all these changes, right, that happen throughout life. And what we've seen, which I think parallels with a lot of what you're talking about, is that it's the event or the upcoming of the event that people that's what the spark is. And then the financial side of it almost comes after. And sometimes we see advisors that are so passionate and firms that are so passionate on what they do that are trying to lead with the service first. But if you really focus on that human element first, right? And
Mhm.
connecting that with the value add, then that's sort of the gateway. At least
Yeah.
that's what a lot of what we see too, and understanding that target and kind of where they're at and how to be able to sort of reach them. It's not necessarily when they've gotten to the retirement, but it's even thinking about what are they going to do post retirement, right? Kind of
Yeah.
little bit of like what you're alluding to, right? So, um,
It really is. I think that those triggering events are really easy opportunities to spot where you can add additional value. What
mhm,
I think is a little bit more nuanced, and this is what we're really asking for advisors to start thinking about. And I think that this is also the same thing that life planners are really starting to think about, and financial therapists. It's,
right.
what are your belief systems
Mhm,
around being able to live your ideal life? What do
mhm,
you believe about your ability to create your ideal life?
mhm.
When I first sat down, and who my financial advisor is, my dear Corey. But prior to Corey becoming my life partner, he was
Yeah,
my financial advisor.
yes.
And the first time that we sat down and started having a conversation, he was like, "What do you want to achieve in your life?" And I painted this grand picture. It was
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
And he looks at me and he's like, "Okay, the numbers don't align.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They just don't align. So where you are and what you're currently making," he's like, "that's a dream that just you're here and you're trying to be here and there's a massive gap. How are you going to bridge that gap?" And
yeah,
I'm like, "You know what? I don't know.
yeah.
But that's part of what I want you to help me figure out."
Mhm.
And part of our life has become that. And I stole something from you and your husband, your life planning activity that you do,
Yes.
which I just absolutely loved it so much that, we've adopted it throughout the course of the years. And that's what I'm wanting to bring to the advisors and to their clients, is this ability to really think about, how do you live life by design instead of by default? Just
Yep.
because you are in one location today and have these dreams of getting to this other location, society comes in and piles all of its junk on top of you. And
Yeah.
then our limiting beliefs will come in and start to chip us down a little bit further. And so when I looked at Corey in that moment, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but
Mhm.
I'm going to get there. And what
Yep.
I need you to do along the way is make sure that the numbers align, but also help me identify what are the habits that are getting in my way.
Yep.
What is the reoccurring thought that's inside of my mind that's keeping me from taking some of these big chances?
Mhm.
What could I do differently that will allow me to align myself so that on a daily basis I'm feeling fulfilled
Mhm.
because I'm living my values
Mhm.
instead of living somebody else's values? And
Mhm.
so that's really what this helps to do, is change the conversation from where you are today to where you want to be.
Yeah, living life by design. So
Yeah.
you can manifesting it. So
Yeah.
that future. So cool. I love it. So to kind of uh, just put kind of a bow around things, if you could wave a magic wand and or looking for sort of a change in the industry, like if you were to look forward in the next 10, 15 years, what do you hope to see changing? And I know that you're part of working to make towards those changes, but if there's any sort of undercurrent that you're working to get, stronger and change, what
Mhm.
what would it be?
Yeah, more human first. I think it's beautiful to see conferences like Shift and Future Proof out there and other, fractional services that you can tap into, whether it's financial therapy or coaching, really
Mhm.
bringing in some of these services. I would love to see more firms be niche focused.
Mhm.
I would love to see them curating their service offering and content. And I think about Matt Holleran and what they're doing over there. Like, how do you become your own loud?
Yeah.
That comes from understanding your market better than anybody else. So I hope that that trend continues.
Mhm.
I also, I think that we also need to see advisors just start to learn how to manage their own mind. I know that you had a conversation with Stephanie Bogan. The work coaching is so great, not just for your clients, but for you as well. We stop ourselves. And I see a lot of advisors stopping themselves from going in a more powerful direction because they've got their own mind drama and junk and
Mhm.
they aren't managing that. You got to start there. If
Mhm.
you can't manage your own mind, you can't hope to help other people to manage theirs. So
Yes. Yeah.
I hope that we start to see more advisors tap into the power of coaching for themselves so that they can manage their minds more
Be better
effectively.
for others. Yeah. And
Yeah.
their team and everything at large.
Yeah.
So, oh,
Oh, and
goodness.
I
Yeah.
guess that would be the last thing that I would say there is, take better care of your team. People are so burnt out right now.
Mhm.
I see this time and time again where teams are just not getting access to the tools and the resources that they need to
Yeah.
be at their best self. Yeah. So
Yeah.
don't just think about yourself, think about your team too.
And it's in such a different dynamic than it was a few years ago,
Yeah.
pre-COVID. So it's a different way
Mhm.
to even wrap your mind around that and training and virtual work and all these sorts of things. So pros and cons, right? But
Yeah.
I'm inspired, Lindsay. This is really fun. It's fun to do a recap. It's also fun to see really where you are and the impact that you're making. So appreciate you sharing, and we'll make sure to provide links and everything below. I feel like there's so many great resources. So thank you again for your time. And yeah, we'll keep talking because I know there's gonna be a lot more good things to continue to come. So
Well, thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate the opportunity.
of course.